Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to thank all the brothers and sisters for attending the final night of this series of Fatimiyyeh program. Alhamdulillah that I'm able to do this service, inshallah, as the reciter, actually the joint reciter and the MC, inshallah. First with your loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So as we spoke before on the importance of the Quran recitation in our community, we need the next generation of reciter, and I believe Ali is one of them. So I thought that let's have joint recitation with him. So over last year, maybe around 1 year, we are practicing together in a group, and we are focusing on fast recitation, which we call it tartil. So inshallah, tonight we are reciting some verses of Surah Al-Insan, again with your second loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على الصديقة فاطمة الزكية حبيبة حبيبك ونبيك أم أحبائك وأصفيائك التي انتجبتها وفضلتها واخترتها على نساء العالمين. Inshallah, with our pure niyyah and your loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا.
إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا.
إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا.
إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسل وأغلالا وسعيرا.
إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا.
عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا.
يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا.
يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا.
ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وعسيرا.
إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا.
إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا.
إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا.
إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا.
فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا.
وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا.
متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا
ودانية عليهم ظلالها وذللت قطوفها تذليلا
ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا ممتحنة امتحنك الله الذي خلقك قبل أن يخلقك فوجدك لما امتحنك صابرا، وزعمنا أنا لك أولياء ومصدقون وصابرون لكل ما أتانا به أبوك صلى الله عليه وآله وأتى به وصيوك. فإنا نسألك إن كنا صدقناك إلا الحقتنا بتصديقنا لهما لنبشر أنفسنا بأننا قد طهرنا بولايتك. السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. السلام عليك يا بنت نبي الله. السلام عليك يا بنت حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا بنت خليل الله. السلام عليك يا بنت صفي الله. السلام عليك يا بنت أمين الله. السلام عليك يا بنت خير خلق الله. السلام عليك يا بنت أفضل أنبياء الله ورسله وملائكته. السلام عليك يا بنت خير البرية. السلام عليك يا سيدة نساء العالمين من الأولين والآخرين. السلام عليك يا زوجة ولي الله. وخير الخلق بعد رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أم الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام عليك أيتها الصديقة الشهيدة. السلام عليك أيتها الرضية المرضية. السلام عليك أيتها الفاضلة الزكية. السلام عليك أيتها الحوراء الإنسية. السلام عليك أيتها التقية النقية. السلام عليك أيتها المحدثة عليمة. السلام عليك أيتها المظلومة المغصوبة. السلام عليك أيتها المضطهدة المقهورة. السلام عليك يا فاطمة بنت رسول الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك وعلى روحك وبدنك. أشهد أنك مضيت على بينة من ربك، وأن من سرك فقد سر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن جفاك فقد جفا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن آذاك فقد آذى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن وصلك فقد وصل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، ومن قطعك فقد قطع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، لأنك بضعة منه وروحه الذي بين جنبيه. أشهد الله ورسله وملائكته أني راض عمن رضيت عنه، ساخط على من سخط، ساخط على من سخطت عليه، متبرئ ممن تبرأت منه، موال لمن واليت، معاد لمن عاديت، مبغض لمن أبغض، محب لمن أحببت، وكفى بالله شهيدا وحسيبا وجازيا ومثيبا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Please recite second salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So inshallah, I'm first reciting a short part of Dua Tawassul before announcing the next item of the program, inshallah, with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله جميعا يا وجيهة اشفعي لنا عند الله صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Alhamdulillah, the next item is a nice initiatives, which inshallah you should do something which we aim to perform 2 rak'at for gifting to Sayyidat Nisa'il Alamin, inshallah, from this place with your pure niyyah and our niyyah, and please, inshallah, we do it, inshallah, all of us, if you like, do it, inshallah, and sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And inshallah, before announcing the next item, I would like to ask the parents that there is a children class between age 5 and 12 upstairs. If you like, you can take your kids to that class. And without further delay, I would like to invite my dear brother, friend, and our respected scholar, Sayyid Abdullah, inshallah, for his amazing lecture. The topic of, or the title of lecture for tonight is The Foundation of Islamic Belief. For his well-being, inshallah, please recite another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبا القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء أما بعد يقول الله في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا Salama. Indeed, and the servants of the Most Merciful are those who walk upon the earth easily, and when the ignorant address them harshly, they say words of peace. Insha'Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, utilizing this particular verse from the Holy Qur'an, from Surah Al-Furqan, we want to analyze a specific issue tonight. As in the 3 nights of Fatimiyyeh, we have given a brief understanding and an introduction towards the academic discussions that need to come forward and discuss the events surrounding the life of Fatima al-Zahra and indeed her martyrdom. Now tonight, we want to shed a light upon one particular issue. As we stated, there are many, but tonight, insha'Allah, in a very brief understanding of a particular issue, which is why did Fatima al-Zahra attend the door when the door was attacked and not Ali ibn Abi Talib? Now, as we know, amongst many other questions that arise, each one needs more than one night discussion, looking at the different reasonings behind why particular events occurred. But tonight we want to understand as much as we can within the time that we have and answer the question that we may have within our minds, or someone may come forward and propose the question. As for us, as followers of Ahlul Bayt, if you say the incident occurred, why did Fatima answer the door and not Ali ibn Abi Talib? Now, before we enter and delve into this topic, we need to understand, whomever wasn't here for the last 2 nights, the 2 things that we need to carry over is first and foremost the understanding of what we discussed yesterday about a particular lens. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. That a particular lens that we need to talk about Fatima al-Zahra when we carry over from yesterday is that you have to understand that Fatima isn't a normal human. Number 1, she's at the heights of morality and ethics and perfection, and likewise Amir al-Mu'mineen. And they are both guardians of this religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, looking into this particular topic, we need to discuss it in particular steps in order for us to go step by step to understand the foundations before we tackle that question, which is, why did Fatima answer the door and not Ali ibn Abi Talib? The first discussion that we're going to have tonight is revolving around the understanding of any particular event within history. What are the different manners that people attack a particular event to nullify it? And how have they attacked the issue and the event that occurred in the event of the martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra? Secondly, we want to look at the role of women in Islam. When I say Islam, it's from the creation of Adam. In the deen and Allah, Islam, as in we look at all the different religions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and look through the Holy Qur'an about women and their roles in protecting the message and indeed the messengers of their time. And where does Fatima al-Zahra fit into the greater picture? Number three, we need to look within the Holy Qur'an to understand the verse in question by looking at the surface level of particular verses of the Holy Qur'an and indeed the deeper meanings that the Ahlul Bayt allude to. As an instance, when the Imams would come forward and say, well, how many depths does, for example, a verse have? Some traditions come forward and suggest that they may have 7 different depths, 7 different understandings, one deeper than the other. And inshallah, one of which we're going to discuss tonight. Number 3. Number 4, what is the role of the animosity and hatred towards Ali ibn Abi Talib in the grand scale of things? And how grand was this particular event in the aspect of oppression towards Fatima al-Zahra? And we'll conclude by understanding why is it that Fatima went towards the door when it was attacked and not Ali. So inshallah, it's such an important topic to learn for ourselves first and foremost, and to explore with others and have and engage into dialogue with others to let them understand it in further detail. Let's bless this majlis with 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When analyzing an event, such as the event of the martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra, you'll find there are many angles in which people try to nullify the entire event that occurred altogether. As in, they'll come forward and say that event never happened. As in, prove to me that this particular event happened. Now, we have our difference, and we have many a reference throughout history of the events occurring. But how do they attack the event itself? This is a very fundamental understanding of why people question the incident of the door. And not only other schools of thought, but within even Shia Islam, they question it. But the way that they do it is very interesting. You'll find if there's an event within history, I can attack the entire event as a whole, or I can attack an event partially. How so? Let's take an example. Let's take warfare, for example. If I go in towards the history books and I see, for example, there was a great heroic warrior. Let's give him a name. Let's give a name to him of Abu al-Batal, for example. Made up name. That I discover throughout the history books is a person or personality by the name of Abu Batal. That this Abu Batal all of a sudden was amazing in the battlefield and he waged wars and there's wars named after him. If I was to look into the history books and I discover through, for example, in detail, let's say research and understanding, that all of a sudden there was no such personality known as Abu Batal altogether. If I disprove a personality that has attached to him all these different wars, I nullify all those wars, don't I? Because there's no such person in the first place known as this personality. So anything that he engaged in, all of a sudden doesn't have a place within the history books. The person doesn't exist, the wars doesn't exist. If I nullify his existence, isn't that correct? That's looking at the holistic picture, that there wasn't a person by the name altogether. But if I want to attack something and question people's minds, doesn't take away from the fact that it occurred. As an example, if I look at a particular war, let's say Siffin, for example, or Jamal, or Nahrawan, one of the 3 civil wars at the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. If someone comes into a discussion, and I come forward and I say, well, on one side of the army, you had Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ammar, Malik. And on the other side, that opposed Amir al-Mu'mineen, you had personalities within history such as Aisha, such as Talha, such as Zubayr. People may come forward and say, well, how many people died? I may come forward and say 16,000 people died in this particular war between these 2 groups of Muslims. Someone may come forward and say, you know what? Through my research, it wasn't 16,000. It may be 10. It may be 5. It may be 8. That partial difference of opinion doesn't take away from the fact that the war actually occurred, does it? So likewise, in the issue of Sayyidah Fatima, you'll find people don't come forward and say this event didn't occur altogether. Because throughout the history books, you'll find both Shia and Sunni texts discover and allude to the fact that there was a door that was attacked. That there were people that came towards the door of Fatima and threatened to burn the door. Now there's a whole different discussion of why they threatened in the first place. And they give reasonings behind it. That's not our discussion. Our discussion is what? That the partial arguments try to nullify the event, such as when people come forward and say, you know what, we don't believe that a rib was broken. Does it nullify whether you believe or not that the door was attacked or that she miscarried? They come forward and say, we don't believe there was a nail in the door. Does it nullify the event? We don't believe there was a nail sticking out of the door. Other arguments come forward, we don't believe there was a door altogether. Baba, if you look at Khaybar, wasn't that a door? There's many traditions, you know. Even when we read all the different du'as that we have, وَسَدَّ الْأَبْوَابِ إِلَّا بَابَهَا, and all these different aspects, all of a sudden no one had doors, subhanAllah. That these partial arguments come forward, trying to take away that, you know what, because we can't prove her rib, we don't believe in the event of martyrdom. That we don't believe she miscarried, all of a sudden it didn't happen. And likewise, even Shia would come forward and have these arguments, whereby you'll find scholars will remain unnamed, will come forward and say, you know what, it doesn't make sense to me altogether. Why Fatima would go towards the door and not Ali? Baba, Fatima went to the door or Ali went to the door. The event is still there. In your mind, maybe you haven't come towards the conclusion of why Fatima went to the door and not Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. But that question within your mind may have an answer. But you shouldn't question the event altogether, should you? As in, it's solidified within history books, Shia, Sunni, that this event occurred without a shadow of doubt. The difference is how severe it was. And you can understand, if you're a governing party, you want to make sure that the details of the tragedy are not spread. And amongst the reasons why it wasn't spread and how it wasn't spread, as in one of the first things that Abu Bakr would do when he usurped the throne from Amir al-Mu'mineen, is Aisha would narrate that my father Abu Bakr would collect 500 ahadith. And I said to him, oh father, what do you want to do with these 500 ahadith that you've collected? He says, I want to make sure I burn them. The words of Rasulullah, people will gain knowledge from them. Why would you burn them? And the reply would come that suggests that, I'm afraid there's a personality that I reference from. He may not be a particular personality that is trustworthy. Remove that hadith, for example, if that trustworthy person is within there. Why are you burning 500 hadith? That's a whole different discussion we delve into. However, the main point of tonight is to understand, just because you hear someone questioning a particular part of the tragedy, shouldn't make you doubt the tragedy altogether. And that's the ways that people come in to try to make you forget or question the event altogether. Number one. Number two, with the women within history, how many of us have looked into how they defended the religion? Examples from the Qur'an. Let's look at example of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Musa, had it not been for three pivotal women within the life and the story of Musa, Musa wouldn't be where he is now. As in the first would be his mother. When you find the story within the Holy Qur'an, the mother of Musa, what do we know about the story of Musa? That Pharaoh was trying to kill every child that was born that year. That he would even kill the child in the stomachs of the mothers. He would piece their stomachs. He would kill. Absolute issue on his entire kingdom. That was the law. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspires the mother of Musa that, you know what, put him in that wooden, let's say, box, taboot, however you want to look at it, and place him in the ocean or the river or the water and let him go. Now I ask you, as mothers and fathers, when you have a newborn, you know, sometimes you leave them, you know, a couple of meters away, and you have to go back and make sure that they're okay if you don't hear them, especially when they're newborn. Imagine a mother being able to cover her child in wood and throw him into the ocean. Just imagine how much does it take from you to do such a thing wholeheartedly and have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he says, "Inna raduhu ilayki," that he inspires the mother of Musa that we will return him to you, don't you worry. I'll make sure that your heart is at ease. So she places him in the water. Had she kept Musa, historians would come forward and say, had they found Musa with his mother in his place, they would have surely killed him. That the only reason to protect that prophet is to do what she did. Number one. Number two, that was the first woman. Second woman, one of the four greatest ladies, who was it? Asiya. Asiya, what happens? You know, Pharaoh, imagine, he's issued an order to kill all children born that year. All of a sudden, this box comes. Inside it is a child. And Asiya is there. You know, imagine, he's like, there's a child, kill him. My orders for the entire kingdom. Asiya there and then protects him from death and certain death. You have to imagine, you know, Pharaoh wasn't just a normal tyrant. He's a person that was able to call himself, I am your Lord, the All-High. Ana rabbukumul a'la. Imagine how much authority he had, that a woman would be able to speak him out of killing a child. So we don't know, did he speak for 5 minutes with her, an hour, 2 hours, days? Doesn't mention in the Holy Qur'an. But what it mentions is that Asiya was there to protect the Prophet at that time. Second woman in Musa's life. Third is his sister. Traditions, what's her name? Either Kalthum or Kaltham. You'll find this sister of Musa, the Qur'an is very specific, that she goes towards Pharaoh until she reaches them and tells them, I will show you who will feed this Musa. They say that no one would be able to suckle Musa, that he would become very hungry, very deteriorated. Why? Because he would not just, take milk from any lady. He's a prophet of Allah. How can a mushrikah, a disbeliever, feed milk towards a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that's what's strange when they come forward and say that, Rasulullah's mother and father were mushrikeen wal a'yadu billah. And we argue that fact. But the understanding there is that in tradition, something close to 3,000 women offered milk towards Musa and he rejected all of them. Kulthum, when she comes, or Kaltham. I want you to imagine a castle now. For a lady to come, how many times does she have to go through the guards, go to the next checkpoint, explain the issue, go to the next checkpoint, by herself, as a woman? Why? to make sure that that young baby is fed, is healthy, is nourished, is protected. So Musa had 3 around him. Maryam, for example, within the Holy Qur'an, that she left the Holy Land, gave birth, and she returned towards them and protected him. Maryam also protected the Prophet. Had it not been for Maryam, where would Isa be? What she had to do in order for her to give birth in the first place. Imagine that she gave birth there and then, what they would do to Isa. Likewise, when we look at, for example, the Prophet's wife, Khadija, and the mother of Fatimah al-Zahra, we have this phrase that we say, had it not been for the wealth of Khadija and the sword of Ali, Islam would not be where it is today. Imagine what she sacrificed in protection and support of Rasulullah. That it's very easy to see the testifying aspect of the wealth of Khadija and its role in the growth, the prosperity, and supporting the Prophet in Islam. Now, understanding these different roles. There's many more within the Holy Qur'an, but I'm just going to showcase to you the greatest ladies of the worlds. And now when Rasulullah comes forward and says that Fatima is the greatest amongst them, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, where then is the role of Fatima al-Zahra? Question. We go again towards the Holy Qur'an, the verse that we stated in question. To give you an understanding, each verse has a zahir and a batin, a literal surface meaning, and it has an in-depth meaning. And them two always have a bridge, a connecting factor. Let's take a few examples from the Holy Qur'an, just to give you a glimpse. We go towards Surah Abasa. In Surah Abasa, ayah number 24, it says, فَلْيَنْظُرُ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Look at the surface level, literally says, let a person look towards the food in which they consume. So we read it, we understand, and we accept it, that let a person look towards the food that he consumes. Is there a deeper meaning? A person goes towards Imam al-Baqir, or Imam al-Baqir, is this all it means? Like, should I look at the food that I eat and see, for example, is it halal, is it haram? Have I purchased it with the correct, wealth? Is that wealth coming from halal source, haram source? Is that all I look at? He says, no, there's a deeper meaning. He says, what's the deeper meaning? He says, this verse refers to the food of your soul, not your physical body. He says, what do you mean? He goes, that knowledge that you intake, where is the source that you are gaining that knowledge from? Just like your body needs sustenance, likewise your soul, your spirit also needs sustenance in order for it to flourish and grow. So you see, all of a sudden, it's looking at what? Sustenance, nourishment, that's the connecting factor. But surface level body, deeper meaning is the soul. Look at how different that is. Let's take another verse before we go to the verse in question. Give another example. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 32. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسِ جَمِيعًا. Whoever saves a life, it's as if he saved the lives of the entire humanity, for example. So he comes to Imam Sadiq, one of the companions, and he says, oh Imam, what does this verse mean? Imam would say, if you save someone from drowning, or you save someone from burning in the fire, then it's as if you've saved all of humanity. Then he looks at the Imam and says, Imam, what about if I was to save someone from dhulumat and take them towards nur? That I've saved them from ignorance and take them towards light. Imam, what does he reply by saying? هَذِهِ تَأْوِيلُهَا الْأَكْبَرُ. This is the deeper tafsir or translation of this particular verse in question. That when you take someone from ignorance, from dhulumat, from darkness, and take them towards light, it's as if you've saved the entire humanity. Why? Because you bring one person towards the truth. Look at their offsprings. Look at that spread of light towards the next generation, etc., etc., etc. Deeper meaning. Now the verse in question, what did we say at the start of the lecture in Surah Al-Furqan? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. And the servants of the most merciful are those who walk upon the earth easily. هونا. And when the ignorant addresses them harshly, they say words of peace. Now, surface level, the people come forward with the tafasir saying that, you know, the people that are the godly people should be very, you know, mutawadhi'een in the way that they are, you know, very humble, very soft-spoken, that they tread carefully. If someone attacks them or is ignorant towards them or makes them hear words, that, you know, you say words of peace or you ignore them or, you know, you're on your path. So the Imam says, that's the only tafsir? He says, no, there's a deeper one. He says, what's a deeper one? Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, who's Ibadur Rahman? He says, Ibadur Rahman refers to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Okay. Does it have the same meaning? يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. What does it mean? Is there a deeper meaning? He says, yes. The deeper meaning is that the Imams need to tread on this earth carefully, lest the enemies want to attack them and finish them. يمشون على الأرض هونا. Tread carefully. Musa, what happens in the story of Musa? خائفا يترقب. When he left the palace, he was making sure that no one is following him, no one's attempting to kill him, no one is going to be there to attack him, lest he finishes his message. Now, everything comes together. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, look at the animosity and the hatred towards Ali before we go towards Fatima. When you found chapter 9 of the Holy Qur'an is revealed to Rasulullah, he says to a personality, go towards Quraysh and reveal this verse. That personality goes. Jibreel comes down. What does he say to Rasulullah? He says, Ya Rasulullah, either you go and reveal that chapter or yourself. Meaning who? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Either you or yourself have to reveal that chapter towards Quraysh. So he calls that person back that he sent, and he sends Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now, this is a very interesting comparison, because when they compare Amirul Mu'mineen with the rest of the prophets, this is one of the arguments that are placed. What's the argument? Amirul Mu'mineen would say this. He says, when they compare me towards Musa, he says, Musa, when he had to go back towards his people, in the story as we know, he's already killed someone. One person is killed. He says, I'm afraid to go back because I've killed that one person. They said in Quraysh, there was not one household except there was a person mourning for someone that was killed by the sword of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now, take that into perspective, that there was not one household in Quraysh lest they had hatred towards Ali because he's killed one of their own. Ali would go reveal that verse or that chapter towards Quraysh. I want to ask you, if you just go, let's say, after Hijrah 61 years, or after the death of the Prophet, roughly 50 years after the death of the Prophet, when you go towards a land known as Karbala, you found when Imam al-Hussein speaks to the people, 50 years after Rasulullah, speaks to the people, O people that have come to fight me, O army, that what have I done in order for you to come and attack me? Why are you fighting me? Is it a halal that I've made haram? Is it something that's haram that I've made halal? Have I done something? What's the reply? They reply by saying, بُغْضًا مِنَّا لِأَبِيكَ. Because in hatred of your father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's 50 years or so after the death of Rasulullah. Now, when we're talking incident of the door, we're talking year 1 after the death of Rasulullah, aren't we? The hatred is still there. The animosity towards Amir al-Mu'mineen is still there. The dislike and the discomfort towards Amir al-Mu'mineen is still there. Now, all of a sudden, we've understood that this particular misdaq is for the people which are God's people on earth, that they need to tread carefully until their message is finalized or their role that Allah wants them for is complete. We take the examples of women. We said, as the examples that are given, Musa was protected by Asiya. She was one of the greatest ladies. When we look at Isa, he was protected by his mother Maryam. And likewise, Maryam not only protected Isa, by the way, she protected Zakaria as well. As in, Maryam was in the forefront. She would be the one that's replying towards all those people within the vicinity of her worship area. And Zakaria would spread the message behind Maryam. Maryam at the forefront. Zakaria spreading the message behind closed doors, let's say. Khadija, forefront. Rasulullah utilizing the wealth to support and to grow Islam. Asiya protected Musa. So when we look at Fatima al-Zahra now, knowing the animosity that people had towards Ali ibn Abi Talib, that they've come, we stated yesterday and the day before, many times towards the house of Ali. Now, the opinion is always there that why did Fatima open the door, isn't it? The way that they phrase it, why did Fatima open the door for them? No. When you actually look at the traditions, what does it say? It says when they came towards attacking the house, that Fatima got up and shut the door on their face. Not opened the door. She shut the door. Because their hatred is with who? With Ali ibn Abi Talib. What did we say? The woman was, their role was what? To protect the Imam of their time, the Prophet of their time. Likewise, when we look at Fatima al-Zahra, she would say what? They've come for Ali ibn Abi Talib. They want Ali. They want Ali's bay'ah. They have hatred towards him. Men will fight men. Men will never fight women, will they? As in if they come against Ali ibn Abi Talib and he opens the door, or he's at the door, they will drag him, they'll open the door. But if a woman comes to defend imamat, to defend the imam of her time, surely no one's going to attack a woman. And that's why the call that was given out, what was it? They say we come towards the house of Ali. The call was what? Inna fil bayti Fatima. In the house is who? Fatima al-Zahra. What was the reply? Wa in. So what? So Fatima's role on the first level, why she came towards the door, wasn't to open it, was to close, number one. Number two, she stood between them and the Imam of her time. Even if it means that my life is sacrificed, then I'm doing it for the right reason. Always the ladies would see, the great ladies will be at the forefront protecting the message. And the example that's also given afterwards is who? Sayyidah Zainab. What happens? Imam Sajjad's life's in danger. Zainab sees that. What does she say? She says, if you're going to kill him, then kill me first. And that stops them killing, doesn't it? Do you see all of a sudden everything's coming together? We have a better understanding of what's occurring in this particular instance. So when someone comes and asks, why did Fatima go towards the door? You know exactly why Fatima went towards the door. In protection of imamat. To close the door. To be a hujjah. That I am the one that stood in your way. That I am the one that's opposing you. And interestingly enough, when we look at this picture of how great a calamity this was. How great a calamity this was. We have to look at a particular characteristic, which is as-sabr. When we read in Ziarat Nahya al-Muqaddasa, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, what does he say? When he refers to Imam al-Hussein, He says, لَقَدْ عَجُزَتْ مِنْ صَبْرِكَ مَلَائِكَةُ السَّمَاءِ. What does it mean? That عَجُزَتْ, I don't know how to explain it in English, that they could not comprehend your patience, O Hussein, of what happened in Karbala. They couldn't comprehend it. عَجُزَتْ. It's beyond them. Who says this? Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Now, the question is, had these angels seen or not seen all the prophets, 124,000? Each one killed in a certain way. Amongst them, Yahya, for example, beheaded. Prophets, their faces were skinned off. So many of them killed in manners that I can't even mention on the pulpits. But the angels see all this. But they stand at Karbala and say, we could not comprehend the patience that Hussein had. As in, how can you give a person that looks identical to Rasulullah? How can you give in the path a 6-month-old baby? And how can you throw that blood and say, oh Allah, take until you are sufficed? How? They didn't comprehend it. Now, take that perspective. Now go towards Imam Sajjad. Remember, Imam Sajjad was in Karbala. That year after Karbala occurred, he goes onto the pulpit and says a speech in the courtroom of Yazid. You know the famous speech of Imam Sajjad. أعطينا ست وفضلنا بسابع أعطينا العلم والحلم والسماحة والفصاحة والمحبة في قلوب المؤمنين وفضلنا بأن منا النبي المختار ومنا الصديق ومنا الطيار ومنا أسد الله وأسد رسوله ومنا مهدي هذه الأمة. For example, amongst these words that he says, he refers to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now, he says a particular line that I want to take. He says about Ali ibn Abi Talib characteristics. He says, أنا ابن أصبر الصابرين. But أو علي أصبر الصابرين أفضل تفضيل. As in there's, for example, Jawad, characteristics, generous, for example. Ajwad is the greatest in that particular perspective. The heights in that perspective. So he doesn't say, I'm the son of the Sabr, for example, the patient one. He says, Asbaru Sabirin, the most patient. But oh Ali, Imam al-Hussein, the angels couldn't handle. He says, no, Hussein was nothing towards the patience of Ali. Because why? Ali is Asbaru Sabirin, min Ali Yasin, meaning what? He is more patient than Hassan, more patient than Hussein, more patient even than Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, min Ali Yasin. The family of who? Yasin is who? Is Rasulullah. The most patient. The tragedy is where, brothers and sisters? That Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he is burying Fatimah Zahra, he goes towards the grave of Rasulullah and he says these lines. He says, قَلَّ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ He says, قَلَّ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ عَنْ صَفِيَّتِكَ الصَّبْرِ. He says, oh, Rasulullah, I know I'm the most patient, but my patience has finished with the issue and the incidents that occurred to Fatima Zahra. Look at the great tragedy that we're in. That Ali Asbar al-Sabirin would say that such a line, that my patience. And mind you, the protection was there at every stage from Fatima to Zahra until the role of Ali was complete. When the role of Ali was complete, what does he say? أشدد حيازمك للموت فإن الموت لاقيك. He sees the signs within the sky. He says, this is the day or this is the night that Rasulullah has already told me about. Today is the day I'm going to die. And he goes towards that mosque knowing that will occur. Goes towards his death. At the time of the door, he had a role to play, and Fatima knew her role. That I am the protector of Islam. I am the protector of Imamate. And that's why when we have that tradition saying that, you know, I do not speak out except when my Imam is in danger. when we go towards Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra's last moments, in her last moments, I want you to imagine Fatima al-Zahra, as we stated yesterday, giving the will towards Ali ibn Abi Talib. In that will, she would tell him what she told him. Oh Ali, be soft with the children. Oh Ali, the children will be orphans after me. She would say, oh Ali, amongst my wasiyah is one, is that no one that's oppressed me should attend my funeral. No one that I am angered with should attend my burial, should not pray on me. Oh Ali, what's she saying? She's saying, oh Ali ibn Abi Talib, make sure that those that have taken my right, oh Ali, do not come and pray on me. Do not attend my burial. Oh Ali, all those people that came towards that door and burnt my door, that they should not attend my funeral. Oh Ali, all those people that came towards the door and opened it by striking it, that person that came towards the door and pushed it hard when I was behind should not attend the funeral. Oh Ali, that person that kicked me in my stomach and made me miscarry should not attend my funeral. Oh Ali, all those that whipped me, all those that went and kicked me, oh Ali, should not attend my funeral. Oh Ali, make sure of this and bury me in the nights when the eyes are asleep and there is no sound. Oh Ali, this is my final will. I take you towards the washing bay of Fatima al-Zahra. They would say that Asma would assist Amir al-Mu'mineen in washing the body of Fatima al-Zahra. Asma would narrate to us, Ali ibn Abi Talib, I saw him broken when washing the body of Fatima al-Zahra, like I've never seen Ali ibn Abi Talib before. She would say he would wash the body. He would wash until a moment came. I saw Ali all of a sudden become shocked. Ali removes himself from the body of Fatima al-Zahra. That he would take himself towards the corner. When he would go towards the corner, she would say, I saw Ali ibn Abi Talib begin to cry in a manner that I've never seen Ali cry before. She would say, oh Ali, you are the one that teaches us to be patient in times of calamity, in times of tragedy. Oh Ali, why do you cry in such a manner? He would say, oh Asma, you did not see or feel what I saw and felt. Asma would say, what is it, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, that you saw? What is it that you felt? She would say, oh Asma, as I'm washing the body of Fatima, he would say, my hands would come upon a broken rib. He says, I could not handle it. Oh Asma, as I'm washing the body, I saw the eyes and the face of Zahra, and I saw the bruises on her body. When I saw that particular bruise on the face, I knew someone may have hit Fatima al-Zahra. And now that I understand this, I understand why Fatima, in her final moments, would never look me in the eye. She was afraid I would see this. She was afraid that I would be the one that would feel pain. Ya Zahra, you'd find Amir al-Mu'mineen would be in such an instance. All of a sudden, he would come towards Fatima. He would shroud her. He would place her in the coffin. But I ask you, this Amir al-Mu'mineen, he would say a line towards the companions that were there, the very few that were there. What would he say? He would say, and remember, this is the person
person that lifted the door of Khaybar, that 40 people could not move from the hinges. He would say, A'inuni, please my companions help me to lift this coffin of Fatima al-Zahra. But remember, Fatima was shriveled. She was very, very weak in her final moments. She could not have been a body that was very heavy because of what occurred to her. But Ali, because of the calamity, could not raise that coffin of Fatima al-Zahra. They would say, as Amir al-Mu'mineen would follow them, he would all of a sudden be walking, and all of a sudden he would fall on the floor. He would go towards Fatima al-Zahra. He remembers her saying, oh Ali, I'm going to be buried by myself. No one will come and visit me. Oh Ali, please be of the people that will be there. I want to hear your voice when you recite Qur'an on my grave. Oh Ali, please remember me with this. So you'll find Ali honored this, that he would be reciting Qur'an next to Fatima al-Zahra. One night as he's reciting the Qur'an, after the tiresome state, Amir al-Mu'mineen would fall asleep for moments. All of a sudden, Fatima would come to him in his dream. She would say, oh Ali, why is it that you're at my grave? He would say, Fatima, you told me to come and recite the verses from the Holy Qur'an. Why do you ask? She would say, oh Ali, please rush towards the house. Why, oh Fatima? She would say, Zainab is awoken from her sleep. She's looking around. She will not find me, oh Ali. She will not see me again, oh Ali. She's looking for a mother, but she has no more mother, oh Ali. Now she's looking for you as the father for comfort. Oh Ali, do not let her be without a mother and a father. As she's going from one room of the house to another. I ask you, Fatima, if you could not handle Zainab going from one room to another, trying to find Ali, how could you handle Zainab in Karbala? If you were to see her running from one tent that was set alight with the flames to another, being chased by Bani Umayyah, being whipped, being taken captive from one city to another, Ya Zahra, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
يا علي على الزهر قلبك منفجر ضلع دمومها اللي تدمر شلون بيك وكربلاء شلون بيك وكربلاء مثمو بذلت دمومها قلت يا علي تومي لك حيدر حيدر يا حيدر الزهرة ماتت من سمعت الكل تسيح الزهرة ماتت من سمعت الكل تسيح وعلى وجهك قمت من حزنك تطيح شلون حالك لو شفت ابنك ذبيح حسين يا ابويا ابويا يا زينب نادي لك حيدر حيدر يا حيدر هي لا إله brothers stand and make a circle for Fatimiyyeh. هي لا إله تخنق عبرة المدينة. هي لا إله فيها ريحانة الدفينة. هي لا إله عن عيني سوف ترحلين. هي لا إله تخنق عبرة المدينة. هي لا إله فيها ريحانة دفينة. فاطمتي يا أنس العمر كلميني. فاطمتي آخر يا علي أسمعيني. فاطمتي لأموت بصوتك الحزين. يا شمس الروح لا تغيبي. يا وطن المرتضى الغريب. قولي لي بعد يا حبيبي. فاطمتي فاطمتي عن كثرة الدلع سامحيني. فاطمتي عن لطم الخد اعذريني. فاطمتي بالمحسن لا تذكريني. فاطمتي في الفاطمية كل عشية لا نحمل إلا صور عن من فداك. كم من فقيد للأثار ماذا فداك. على جبينه حفر روحي فداك. شباب أرخص العمر. شباب أرخص العمر. شباب أرخص العمر. وبدر يتبع البدر. وآخر صيحة كانت يا أمه يا زهراء. الفاطمية بعد العزية صوت أليم للبتول ليتردد. لم تنتهي الأحزان حتى تتجلد. ما زال يدمى كل يوم من ضلع أحمد. وما زال الصدى يعلو بباب الدار أذفانا. ألا يا أيها العالم حسين مات عجانا. Our hearts are hollow, our joy is sorrow. Days stayed by days after dark night followed. But how can night follow today's night tomorrow, when the lantern of the one is but a shadow? Long Fatima, but your light will forever glow. Long, our tears for your loss will forever flow. Fatima, 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 ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. All together, Fatima, Fatima. Fatima, ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Our smiles turn to frowns, our smiles turn to frowns, our ups turn to downs, our hearts mix without tears and drowns. You are the sweetest noun that will always resound, and your hijab, your highness, was your crown. Free are the servants who serve under your highness. Free, you are the unseen proof of God's oneness. Fatima, 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 ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Fatima, Fatima. Brothers, come closer, make a circle. Ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Fatima, Fatima, Fatima. Don't be shy. Fatima, ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Fatima, 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 ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Time stood still for time, time stood still for time, saying, oh, what a crime. Then I took one look at you and turned blind. How can the undivine injure the most divine? How can the rib between the door and nail confine? Oh, are you mourning for Muhsin or for your pain? Oh, are you mourning for Muhsin or for your pain? Oh, are you picturing the ribs of Hussein? Fatima, 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 ya Fatima, ya Zahra. Fatima, 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 ya Fatima, ya Fatima, Zahra. Our comforts are pain, our comforts are pain, our saint turns insane. Let your foes who accuse us for your love blame forever will remain, mourning without restraint. Zahra, Muhsin, Zainab, and Abbas, Hussein. Rise, O Imam, for your name we will pave. Rise and relieve our sorrows and review our grave. Karbala, 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 ya Thar Allah. Karbala, 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 Karbala. All together. Karbala, 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 ya Thar Allah. Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. Karbala, Karbala, ya Thar Allah. Our comforts are pain, our comforts are pain, our saint turns insane. Let your foes who accuse us for your love blame forever will remain, mourning without restraint. Zahra, Muhsin, Zainab and Abbas, Hussein. Rise, O Imam, for your name we will pray. Rise and relieve our sorrows and reveal her grave. Karbala, 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 Ya Thar Allah. Karbala, 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 Karbala. I will start with you, in my heart is you, written on my two eyes. Madad ya Zahra, Madad ya Zahra, faster, Madad ya Zahra, Madad ya Zahra. توجر نار قلبي وناشد وين دربي ونام عيوني تربي. منو اللي ياخذ بيديا، منو اللي ياخذ بيديا. سألت الناس كلها جواب بكلمة لها، عوائل عن أهلها. عقيلة هاشمية، عقيلة هاشمي لهيبة في نادي، أدور برادي دموعي تنادي. مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة. Your name is etched in me, your name is etched in me. So if your foes kill me, my blood will say as it falls. Ya Haydar and Ya Zahra, Ya Haydar and Ya Zahra, Ya Haydar, Zahra, Ya Haydar. Zahra, I know I'm not deserving to call myself your servant. I'm the servant of your servants, of Haydara and Zahra, of Haydara and Zahra. My heart is your fault, and I've closed the door. They can burn this door. Madad ya Zahra, Madad ya Zahra, Madad ya Zahra. زهرة دخيل الله ودخيلك، دخيل الله ودخيلك. حرصت والله كفيلك، عرفت من يعتلينك. أبد ما تخيبينا، تخيبينا. أنا يسموني خادم عقيلة آل هاشم، وبذلوع الزهرة فاطم. دليل تجبرينا، دليل تجبري. دخيلك أنا يا بنت مولانا، فرج عنوانا. مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة. مدد يا زهرة، مدد يا زهرة. The apple of his eyes, the rose is rooted in the skies. So your scent is paradise, and that your feet were dust, and that your feet were dust. So as the sun that's rising, the light was made for brightening. But if it sees your highness, the sun will be blinded, the sun will be blind. The lantern of light is missing from sight, buried in the night. Madad ya Zahra, 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 Madad ya Zahra. La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad. الله عليا ولي الله، عليا ولي الله، عليا ولي الله. نادى علي يا مظهر العجائب، نادى علي يا مظهر العجائب. تجده عونا لك في النوائب. كل هم وغم سينجلي، كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك بعظمتك بنبوتك بولايتك علي 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 علي. حيا على البكاء حيا على البكاء في ماتم الحسين مظلوم كربلاء سلطان كربلاء عطشان كربلاء سلطان كربلاء. أين الطالب بدم المقتول بكربلاء أين الطالب بدم المقتول بكربلاء. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا والدليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك واجعلنا من خير أعوانك وأنصارك والمستشهدين بين يديك. ورحمة الله وبركاته. For the مرحومين مرحومات, if we can recite a Fatiha, but before it aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.